Welcome to CORECHEM Breaks It Down, a podcast where we talk about complex topics in a way that anyone can understand. Today I'm with Jake Ward. Jake is an engineer at CORECHEM. He helps us take on technical questions that we get from our customers. And my name is Chloe Poole. I'm in business development in the heat transfer fluid business section. And what that means is essentially we work with a lot of glycol. That's not the only fluid we work with, but that is the main one. So today, Jake, I'm really curious some of your thoughts on this. So I used to work for a utility district. I did their communications, and my least favorite part of the year was when they asked me to design their water quality report because it was just so tedious. And on the one hand, I was always really proud to see the quality of the water that our water plant produced. I think we were a 20 million gallon water plant, so just seeing all the work that went into that and the work that went into our operators getting that information for that report, it's a tedious process. So I was really surprised one day when you told me water quality reports are actually not great when it comes to deciding if water is healthy for an HVAC closed loop system.
Correct.
Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. And I'd love to tell you more about that because water quality is something that is so critical to our industry.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, when you have a 25% propylene glycol dilution, 75% of that makeup is water.
That's so true. We only hear about the 25%.
Exactly.
We don't think about the water.
We don't think about the 75% in that system, which is water. And that's why it's critical that that water is of high quality. Because not only are you affecting the systems, you're affecting the fluid chemistry as well in that 25% concentration.
Absolutely.
So what is critical about that is to ensure that is high quality. And where water reports differ for our industry is water quality reports are for most common reporting on quality of drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
This is not drinking water that we're talking about.
Oh, wow. I've never thought about that. Mm-hmm.
This is chemistry water when you think about it in my terms. I like to think of it as you want to put a pure liquid in it, right? And what is a pure liquid? That is something that is low on contaminants and hardness. And I don't mean soft water because soft water has additives in it to get it to that point.
Huh.
So, with that said, water quality reports are fantastic for a local area to know what you're drinking and what sources might be.
I mean, they better be. I spent a lot of time on that water quality
Exactly.
report.
And do not get me wrong, they do a fantastic job and they service many, many communities throughout the United States of America.
Absolutely.
However, that doesn't necessarily service our purpose here with essential chemistry, right?
Yes.
What we want to ensure is that we have very, very clean water, preferably deionized water, which has all of the minerals stripped from it in common terms. Your tap water is actually quite hard when you look at these reports. And not only that, is these reports are not necessarily conducive of the water source that you're going to be using at site when you're using it with this chemistry fluid such as propylene glycol as your water source on site at a construction site is not where that water report was originally tested at.
Huh. Tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. So water reports are a yearly historical data point, right?
Okay.
And so you take this testing from multiple sources throughout the county, region, or wherever that this municipal may service. And so that is data collected throughout the year. For us, we're on job-specific sites where these gentlemen like to ask, Jake, can I just use the tap water? We saw a water report. The water report's good. It's safe for drinking. Yeah, it's safe for drinking. However, it's not necessarily good for chemistry.
So why do they want to use the tap water as opposed to DI water?
Exactly. That's a great question. Ease.
Okay. Huh.
And so a lot of times it can be quite complicated to get a deionized source on the construction site that might not even have roads built yet, right?
Oh, wow.
Right.
I didn't even think about that.
Exactly. So the logistics of getting purified water to some of these construction sites can actually be a little bit of a headache for these gentlemen. And so what they like to do is take the easy route out. You know, they want to just use the tap water. And unfortunately, using the tap water, they'll say, well, Jake, it had a clean water report. It passed for this. it passed that municipal water report. It did not pass the CORECHEM quality water report that we seek for the chemistry solutions that we're diluting down to.
Wow, like you said, it's application.
Exactly. Application. And so with that, the best way to guarantee that you are getting a clean water source is to test compatibility and test the water quality prior to even installing the fluid. So
How do you do that?
how do we do that is we offer that service here at CORECHEM, actually. You can take a direct sample from your water source, send it to us. I will evaluate its parameters such as hardness, pH, iron, magnesium, sulfate, all the good parameters that you want to see, that we want to see very, very, very low. For instance, you might ask, why am I testing that? Why does that matter? Why does it matter the hardness and magnesium and sulfate levels of this water that I'm using? Well, that 25% concentrate is most likely a phosphate-based inhibitor package. And so with that, you have to have highly pure water, or else you're going to have incompatibilities when you mix that tap water, municipal water, into the GlycoChill P200 HD or another phosphate inhibitor package. Where you will see is instant incompatibility. You'll see what looks like white participant formation. You'll see cloudiness, a haziness. And when you don't use a hard water and you use a certified water source, you get perfect clarity in that solution. And so what we ensure is that you're going to achieve perfect clarity with your water source, because if you don't, you're actually consuming the chemistry up in that package. You've actually wasted the chemistry that is in that concentrated solution. You want to protect that chemistry. And in order to protect the inhibitor chemistry, you need high quality water. You don't want to interfere with the chemistry that's happening in that fluid to protect your system. And so when you introduce all this hardness from a tap water system, you're introducing unknown chemistry to that fluid.
So I'm curious, have you ever done testing on some of the water that is sent to you and it actually did pass, as opposed to them needing to use RO water?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some customers in the past that have historically had very, very clean water reports. And they said, Jake, our water's great. We have these great reports. We want to use it. And I said, okay, let's verify first.
Yeah,
what's it
that
hurt
makes
to
sense.
verify before you do this huge installation? And a matter of fact, we get the water in. They had 2 water sources at that time. One of the water sources had been contaminated. One of them was good to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and if they had not submitted that sampling,
Oh, wow.
they would have one system fine, but the other completely cloudy, unfortunately. And so we was able to prevent that by doing a simple water quality check on their source.
Wow, that's incredible. So if they use water that ends up having some water quality issues, what's going to happen in that system 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of depends on the inhibitor package that you're using. So for instance, let's just stick to GlycoChill P200, which is a phosphate-based inhibitor package. With that, in time, as you dilute that system with more hard water, tap water, municipal water, aka city water, you are going to see hardness form. And by that, I mean you're going to see actual solids form in that system.
Oh, wow.
And so the chemistry that's in the fluid to protect the system is going to be going to that contamination. Instead of protecting your system, it's having to fight against the bad water that you put in that system. And you're wasting that chemistry on that bad water instead of getting the benefit of the inhibitors on your system. And so we will actually see accumulation. You're going to have to filter this product. You're going to have cloudiness. You're going to lose energy because of the particulate that's in the fluid. It's taking more pumping energy to push that in because you've increased your density of that fluid with the matter that's in there now. And so some fluids can be restored by filtration, but ultimately you've already altered the chemistry of that package at that point. And so that's why it's best if you have reached that point with a bad water source to always have it tested and not assume, because that can in time lead to a catastrophic failure if it is not corrected immediately. You want to get that protection back up to par.
That makes sense. All of those negative side effects that you mentioned, I noticed that all of them cost money.
Exactly.
Are there any other reasons besides just ease that someone would still choose to use a water source that could cause problems for their system?
Unfortunately, it comes down to a lack of knowledge in a lot of these places.
Got it.
Where it's just not common knowledge that hard water is not compatible with a phosphate-based inhibitor package per se. Or chain of command failed to mention you need to have a deionized water system at this job site to ensure water quality. Slips happen, and it's part of the process. Ultimately, a well-educated, informed engineer is going to be aware of the water quality requirements that are required for phosphate-based inhibitors. However, that's where we come in. That's where we service for you. That's where we're going to guarantee compatibility prior. So if you do have a water source you are iffy about and you're like, I can't put up the money to get this water source. Well, a free test is better than thousands and thousands of dollars
Absolutely.
of wasted flushed fluid.
Absolutely. You've mentioned some water sources aren't compatible with certain inhibitors. In simple terms, what does that mean?
Absolutely. So inhibitors are the protection package in the fluid. It is the bread and butter that protects your system. Propylene glycol is great at freeze protection. It helps boost your system's freeze protection, as water alone is actually the best heat transfer fluid for efficiency. However, water freezes.
I wish it was that easy.
I know, I wish it was that easy. And so when you introduce anything else besides water, you introduce potentials for corrosives as well, contaminants as well. And so with that propylene glycol, you have the viscosity benefits that you get with a 25% propylene glycol, but you're also getting the added protection that you don't get with water alone. With water alone, you're not getting an inhibited system. And by inhibited system, I mean protective chemistry that is going to, in long term, protect your system from corrosion. As everybody thinks they do their system installation correctly, but a lot of times you'll see accidental leaks or air ingress. And what happens during that air ingress is you actually create areas for corrosion to form potentially. And so what we're doing is protecting that system from corrosion.
So I'm sure we have a lot of different people who are watching this right now. There are some who their big consideration is money spent. And we've talked about how taking those extra steps at times do cost a little bit more money. Is there anything else that you just want to communicate as to why someone should take these extra steps to make sure they have high quality water? Anything else about this topic, Jake, that you want to communicate?
Absolutely. So one of the things that matter about this is the contamination that you're putting into the system, right? With water hardness, you're not just introducing pure water, right? You're introducing other sources. And unfortunately, as we know, municipal water has had incidences in the past where mistakes happen and impurities can make it through, right?
Let me tell you, having worked for a utility and there being some national news stories about water quality, I know how much this is a concern that people have.
Exactly. And so it is a valid concern when you're dealing with chemistry, right? We want pure, uncontaminated water with our chemistry to best offer protection for your system.
You've talked a lot about water sources. What would be your ideal water source?
Absolutely. So
the Jake water source.
The Jake water source will firstly be DI water, right?
Yeah.
Distilled water, RO water. However, if it's absolutely not possible and you do have a water source that you want tested, the parameters I'm looking for is low hardness, low chlorides, because what that tells me overall is how the system is going to comprehend that fluid. As your hardness is going to let me know how it interacts with the fluid chemistry, if we're going to see cloudiness, haziness, incompatibility. With chlorides, if you have elevated chlorides in that system, we're also going to know if you have a risk of higher corrosion rates, as elevated chlorides can accelerate your corrosion rates. And so there are several parameters that we test for that I offer people, and I deplore people to please send your water in, get it tested, let us evaluate it, because you do not want to wait until you're at the job site, day of installation, you put that water in, and your boss comes to you, why is it cloudy? Why is all this fluid cloudy when it's supposed to be translucent? that's a bad day for you.
That is.
So let us prevent that bad day for you. Let me do the water quality test for you. Let me do a compatibility test for you, and let me tell you if you're safe to use this water.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being with us. As you can tell, Jake is very passionate about this topic. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to comment. If you want to reach out to us with questions, we would love to help you with those. And we're just so glad that you came and joined us on CORECHEM Breaks It Down today. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.